Okay, good evening everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Should be fine.
Yes? In the very back? Testing the acoustics. Okay. Hit it. Okay, so when I came to university 3 years ago, I said, you know what, I'm going to do 3 things. One of those 3 things is I'm going to study abroad. I'd heard that you can go to 169 different countries around the world, and I wanted to spend at least 4 months, 1 semester in one of those countries. So I said, I want something technical, I want something in English, something crazy, and I chose India. I wanted something completely different that would change my view on the world, that would change my life, and I found it in India. Just coming out of the Delhi airport left me hitting this wall of noise, of smells, of heat. Oh, it was great. On the first week we took this little taxi, this auto rickshaw, and at a certain point we just saw this elephant along the side of the road. We said, oh, we want to see the elephant, so we cut across 6 lanes of traffic and went back 100 meters just straight against the traffic on this highway, and we got to pet the elephant. Normally I'm quite an on-time guy. I like to have a watch. I like to have my agenda. I like to just be completely super focused. Even dates I'll put into my agenda or I'll forget about them. And India definitely messed with that. India definitely put me in this different mind frame, and they said, you know what, time. They ran on international or Indian Standard Time, IST, and it was always late, always. I mean, where I could do 4 things in 4 hours before, now we could only do 2 things. And it definitely changes the way you think. It definitely messes with your mind. It makes you think about new things. I traveled 24,000 kilometers over the last 5 months within India and Nepal. And you can tell these are all the places I visited in India. Just going completely around the world, trying to ask different questions, trying to figure out what is this new world I'm in. Of course, the money was great. Suddenly I was very rich. Suddenly I was, like, my money went 4 or 5 times further. I'm pretty sure I saved money, even though I traveled to the other side of the world. Even though I traveled tons in India, even though I took domestic flights there. Compared to living in Marine Drive, I saved a lot of money. And this was, quote unquote, it came up every now and again. Everything is possible, but nothing is available. And it kind of makes you think. It kind of says, like, yes, corruption plays a big part in this, but I'm a part of Engineers Without Borders here, and I said, how does it relate to Africa? I've always wanted to go to Africa, always wanted to do a junior fellowship. I've wanted to experience what it is firsthand, and I talked to people, returned JFs, people that are living in Africa, and we talked about the poorest countries. And in the poorest countries, the people are actually quite happy. The people, they don't know what else is out there. And in very poor countries, you don't get this feeling of that there's something better out there. If you don't know that there's something beyond there, if you don't know that there's something more, if you don't live like this is a view in Mumbai. This is, I mean, a beautiful building, beautiful people, lots of money living next to this slum. And that's what causes jealousy. It's this big contrast that causes people to question and to think, wow, I'm missing out on something. It creates this culture of begging. It creates an entire industry of begging in India that you don't find in any other place around the world, or at least not to the same extreme. And it forces us to ask some really tough questions of ourselves. How does this happen? How do we get to this place in the world? Where does this come from? How can we have such a big divide between poor and rich? How can we have rich people living next to poor people? And really, even for me, you just get used to it after a certain point. You get used to the poverty. And only when I was introduced to new friends that had just arrived in India, I got to see, wow, this is crazy. What has happened to me? I participated in this program called Jagriti Yatra in the last 15 days of India, and it was a program which took 500 young social entrepreneurs between 20 and 25 at different stages of enterprise, threw them on one train together, to talk about real problems. The train went 8,000 kilometers around India, visited 12 different cities in 15 days, and it was constantly talking about the problems of India, talking about the solutions, talking about how to solve this, what could possibly go into this. And there's a lot of parallels between Africa and rural India. We stayed in a village for 2 days, and there was a lot to see there. It's something you can't read about in a book. It's something you can't talk about. It's something you can't really visualize until you're actually there. This group, we went around, and this was just my little group out of 500 students. We invaded this village and talked with everyone, gave them new ideas, talked about the Western world, talked about our first world problems, these problems. And it was incredible to see this, but also strange to see this other side. Everyone had a cell phone, everyone had access to internet, but no one used it, no one knew it. No one knew how to use it. And it was weird, it was strange. At a certain point, I got this question asked to me, is it worth disturbing this little world? Is it worth changing the mindsets of these people without actually changing the lives? People there were ignorant to this world, but they were happy. And we came in, 500 people presented this completely other world that they can't be a part of, at least not yet. And so I think we all need to think about, we all need to realize before we jump into something like this, what is the cost of this? What is the cost of educating these people? What is the cost of raising these people? What is the cost of shattering this innocence? What is the cost of ending this ignorance?